In an interview, he says, "Hey geeks, welcome to my channel. I'm Trey Guillotine, and you're watching Daily Marvels, where I give a few thoughts of some of the Marvel news stories that went on in the past week. The Marvel Netflix series have an unfuture going forward. Marvel's Netflix series have an uncertain future, and it looks like we're going to be meeting Daredevil's mom. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it around so others can join in the conversation." So recently, the president of Marvel Entertainment, Dan Buckley, actually gave a statement on the future of the Netflix series going forward, because as far as we know, the plan is that Marvel and Disney are going to be putting all of their titles, TV shows, and movies under the umbrella of the upcoming Disney streaming service in 2019. So it was assumed that they would be taking the shows away from Netflix and putting them on there, thus basically cutting Netflix out of the production. But it looks like that may not be the case. In an interview, he says, "We obviously want the Marvel television series currently on Netflix to have a long and lauded run. TV projects would choose networks and platforms that are best fit for that content, including the Disney-branded streaming service." So I feel like that kind of means that Disney's actually open to keeping the Marvel Netflix series on Netflix. And I mean, taking things like Agent Carter, or is Agent Carter still on Netflix? I don't know if that's still on Netflix, but I know Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is still on Netflix, so they'd obviously be taking Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. off of Netflix and putting it under the streaming service, because that's not a Netflix show. That's an ABC show that's just on Netflix. But the Netflix series, like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Defenders, Punisher, those are Netflix-produced series. So I feel that taking them away would be a much bigger deal, because you'd basically be cutting out half of the production of that show, if not all of the production of that show, and then moving it onto the Disney streaming service and producing it there. But from this statement, it sounds like they're actually open to the idea of leaving them on Netflix, or at least sharing them between Netflix and the Disney streaming service, since they are a Marvel show, but they're also a Netflix show. But I wonder if this actually carries on to other shows like Runaways on Hulu, if they're open to leaving Runaways on Hulu, or if they would take Runaways from Hulu and putting on the Disney streaming service. Personally, I really think that they need to leave the Netflix series on Netflix, because they've done so well there. I don't want to necessarily have that boat rocked. I don't want the chances of the quality of production failing because it's losing the original production resources that Netflix has, bringing it over the Disney streaming service. Not that Disney would make bad Netflix series, I don't know, but they also mentioned that whatever service or whatever medium that the content would be appropriate for. And even though Disney is trying to get out of the we just do kid stuff and do more adult and mature themed things, I don't know if they're quite ready to have, like, the Punisher next to Hannah Montana. Is Hannah Montana a Disney show? I really don't know, but I don't know that they'd be really ready for that. So they may just leave the Netflix series with Netflix. Speaking of the future of Netflix series, we got some casting news for Daredevil season 3. It looks like Joanne Whalley will be playing Sister Maggie, and Sister Maggie is in fact Matt Murdock's mother. It was teased at the end of Defenders that he meets Maggie, that whatever orphanage or whatever nunnery that he's in at the end of Defenders, his mother is there, Maggie is there, but we didn't really know any other details aside from that. Well, it looks like she's going to be a nun at the place, or probably be a nun at the place that he ends up at the end of Defenders. So my big question is, the nunnery or the place that he ends up at the end of Defenders to heal from his wounds, is it the same orphanage that he grew up in? And actually, just small little anecdote, it's the same orphanage that Skye Daisy Johnson in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. grew up at. Not that they probably knew each other. Not that they knew each other, there's any other connection other than that, it's just being a name drop, but it's just a nice little tidbit of information. But if it's the same place that he grew up, has his mother Maggie always been there? And therefore, in fact, did she essentially take care of him when he was a child, when his father died and he was put in the orphanage? Was his mother there to take care of him? I mean, as far as we've guessed, she's been a very absentee mother, that, you know, he was living just with his father. There was barely any mention of his mother. There was no mention of his mother up until there was one episode, that the flashback where you see how his father died, where he assumably calls Maggie, tells her that he's probably about to get killed and that he's going to need her. But other than that, there's been no mention of her whatsoever. So I think this is some pretty big news, and I'm guessing it's going to have a huge effect on what's going to be going on, especially with Matt kind of surviving his near-death experience at the end of Defenders, and the fact that he'll be meeting his mother, assumably for the first time. But I think it would be interesting. But I do think it would be interesting if, like, the detail that if the place that he ends up was the orphanage that he grew up in, and then that's where Elektra took him, or assumably where Elektra took him at the end of Defenders to heal. If in fact his mother Maggie had been there the entire time, taking care of him as a child, and he just didn't know that she was his mother. What do you think of these Daily Marvels? Let me know in the comments, and follow me on all the internets. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it around so others can join in the conversation. You can check out my written reviews of Marvel TV shows, Marvel movies, and video games at treyguillotine.blogspot.com, and subscribe to my channel to geek out some more. Thanks for watching, and have fun.